We finally are to chapter 10 in 1 Corinthians. So today I'm just going to begin with the first 5 verses in chapter 10 of 1 Corinthians. We have just finished chapter 9, which was Paul talking about his freedom, yet his choice to remain a slave, to bring people, to tell people about Jesus Christ. Well, today he is now in chapter 10, changing directions and speaking about something else. Chapter 10. Now, I do not want you to be unaware, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud, all passed through the sea, and all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. What was he talking about? He says, I don't want you to be unaware. I want you to know. I don't want this to be something that you didn't know about. And he's talking to brothers and sisters, those who are believers in Christ. He's our ancestors, those our family who have gone before us. They were all under the cloud. Well, he is making reference to when the people of Israel came out of Egypt in their captivity. And remember, they're going to cross the Red Sea. They followed the cloud. They followed the cloud. They all passed through the sea. And they were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. So he's saying they're following that cloud as he led, and Moses, as they led the people of Israel out of Egypt. They crossed the sea with all of our ancestors. They were all there together and baptized into Moses. As they followed him, that was their baptism, their initiation, their becoming a part of following Moses and of the Israelite people. They were all baptized into the sea. They all ate the same spiritual food. Remember the manna? You that have already read the Bible and know how they had this food when they were hungry, God provided something called manna. He would provide for them. So they all ate the same spiritual food as well. They were getting the same spiritual teaching. So they were getting physical food and spiritual food from God through Moses. And all drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank from the spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was Christ. So everything they needed to live, to survive, food, liquid, water, a spiritual teaching, was all coming from God as they followed Moses and were leaving Egypt to go back to their promised land. Then verse 5 says, nevertheless, God was not pleased with most of them, since they were struck down in the wilderness. You say, what does that mean? They did this and he wasn't pleased? You remember when Moses was up getting the 10 Commandments, how they started making idols, and Moses comes down and breaks the tablets because the people have been disobedient. God wasn't pleased with most of them, and they were struck down in the wilderness. Most of those that left Egypt never reached the promised land. So you go back and do some study in the Old Testament, and you read those stories, and then you'll remember. So chapter 10, verses 1 through 5 are reminding the people in Corinth that their ancestors, their Jewish ancestors, all followed Moses. They all came under that cloud. They crossed the Red Sea. They drank the same food and water, and spiritually they were fed. And yet God wasn't pleased with most of them, and they were struck down. So Paul is getting ready to warn them not to have the same results as their ancestors. Well, next time we'll continue, and Paul in the following verses tells about some of the specifics that the people of Israel, their ancestors, did and how they failed. Well, that's enough for today. I'll talk to you next time.